We are going to make sure we have technology available at our fingertips that if they're ready to come out of whatever's holding them back, and we're going to put it that way, right? Because some of them might want to stay on drugs and live under a bridge, and that's okay. We're still going to feed them, right? But if they're ready to lead a life of independence, whatever their struggle is, we want to help them get out of that situation, right? So I'm just going to give you a general example. The person comes in, we've seen him the last 3 times we fed. We say, hey, Susie, we've seen you here, the last 3 weeks and or 3 days, whatever it is. Hey, is there anything that we can do to help you so that you can have a life of independence, afford a place to live, afford a car, and just not having to be stuck in this situation? And she's like, yeah, you know what? I'm homeless. I don't have any way of purchasing food. I don't have a job, and I'm struggling with addiction. We are going to have resource managers in place. So in a lot of ways, this person would be seen as kind of a case manager, a social worker, but we have God's people who can kind of do the same thing if they have resources at their fingertips, right? So at that time, the person eating dinner with them will have electronic access technology at their fingertips to refer this person to our resource manager. And they can say housing, their name, whatever information we have on them, and a way to access those things. So this resource manager is going to say, okay, I see on my resources of housing, I can call Montgomery County, I can call this program, I can call that program. I know there's a recovery home around the corner. They might need to go into Woodhaven for acute care. Then they can go to a recovery program, which is maybe Freedom Recovery, Brightview, Spiro Health, all these different programs that we're partnering with. And then they're going to make an appointment for that person to go to these different programs. From there, we kind of do a handoff, right? In that if they go to, let's say, Freedom Recovery, they're going to make sure they go to meetings. They're going to make sure they're starting to drop clean urines. They're going to get them counseling, all these things. At the same time that she's setting up all these other appointments, we want to assign them a mentor. And this mentor is to be like, hey, I know you go to the Dream Center, and I know that you're supposed to go to Montgomery County. How's that going? Do you need help with your paperwork? Can I help you in any way get through that? Oh, yeah, I got that already. Okay, well, have you hooked up with Angie over at Freedom Recovery? Have you been going to your meetings? Yada, yada, yada. Because we know that real restoration and change, of course, happens with God, but it happens in relationship, right? So where there's going to be some in the building partners, but there's also going to be out of the building partners, and we have already established lots of out of the building partners, okay? And so when they get to these out of the building partners, we're still going to keep our hand on them, but the other thing is we don't have to reinvent the wheel at the Dream Center, right? We don't have to be all things to all people. There's already great people doing great things, but they may not know how to get connected. We're going to continue meeting their basic needs, right, and walk them through this process. So there's many things. We can go through mental health. We can go through addiction. We can call from housing. Even after they get a job and they got their first $200 check and their priority is getting their hair and nails done, but they can't feed their kids, right? So we're going to have to teach them budgeting. Right? So there's all those things, all these classes we have coming. So for those of you who have not heard this yet, I wanted you to have an overview. So even when you are learning about addiction, and when you're thinking about this, you can ask appropriate questions. And trust me, I am not afraid of questions because my name is not God, and I do not have all the answers, right? So you might bring some up and be like, oh my goodness, never thought about that. That's a great question, right? So feel free. And this is not, you sit there in the seats and you watch Dr. Rhonda's video and end of the day, whatever. This is open discussion. This is questions. You can even ask specific questions about the Dream Center. So this is kind of a open dialogue while you're having this training, okay? Any questions before I turn it over to Dr. Rhonda? Mouse. All right, so fun story. Some of you haven't heard, but almost every single thing that we had in mind to fulfill Pastor's dream of a dream center, supernaturally, every partner, every person is in place. All right? I'm not kidding you. Exactly. Give God the glory. So, having said that, God has made all that happen, and I'm not exaggerating in any way. People have come to me and said, hey, Leah, I'm a teacher. I want to start the after-school program. Hey, Leah, I used to run a clothing ministry. I've had 2 years experience in that. I think I can, take over that. And guess what? I do not need to micromanage anyone. So I have enough to do. So I'm like, okay, well, here you go. On and on and on. I could just go on for hours about all the things. The partners have been all supernatural. They've reached out to us. Okay? They've reached out to us, and we haven't even opened yet. It's all God. So Dr. Rhonda Smith happens to be one of those. So we actually met through this grant situation. That's all we're going to call it. And so instantly there was a connection. She actually prophetically got a thing from someone about she was going to be part of a dream center. This is before we met and knew anything about each other, whatever. This was days before. So I'm telling you, Dr. Rhonda has a lot of experience. She goes into the prison. She does a lot of training on toxic relationships. She does a lot of training in addiction. She can prescribe medication that has to do with like getting people off of drugs, right? And so she's also a life coach on top of all those things. So she's going to be a huge resource for us at the Dream Center, and I'm extremely grateful that we met. And she's got a heart of gold and is all about chasing after Jesus, and actually writes books, and there's a Christian book company that would like to publish her material. So anyway, I'm just saying she's full of Jesus and all kinds of experience, all right? And she's like really down to earth, so you can ask her anything in the entire world, okay? So come on up, Dr. Rhonda.
Thank you, Leah. Hello, everyone. There you go. So this evening I have a cold, so I'm glad I have a video that's already taped. But a little bit I want to tell you about me. I worked in the prison for 8 years, and while I was there, I seen a lot of women coming in because they were addicted to drugs and they were in toxic relationships. And 2 years ago, God told me to walk out of the prison and I had my own business, but to start it full time. And I thought, how do I do that? He said, just do it, leave. So I did. And when I was in there, I was the type of person, I felt so sorry for these women because they would be treated wrong even inside of the prison sometimes. Addiction is so dear to my heart because I had a brother who was addicted. I try not to cry when I talk about this, but I had a brother who was addicted to alcohol and crack. And while he was addicted to that, I was in school and I was thinking, what's wrong with him? Why does he keep drinking? God, give me that problem. I loved him so much, I wanted to take the problem for him. But what I realized is God gives us problems for a reason. So 35 plus years he was addicted, and he's off of alcohol and he's off of crack, and that was with prayer. Our family went through a lot of heartache, and it's hard on the family. Sometimes the people that are addicted don't understand that because they're way in another zone. So even now, a lot of the mothers will call me and I'll pray with them because they're crying and saying, what should I do? I can't do this anymore. I can't take this. And I try to explain to them why that child is the way they are. And I pray for them. So what I'm going to do is turn on the video so you could see. This is a video I do for when clients come into different people's homes or halfway houses. They look at the video, or if they come to my office, I have them look at it so they can understand what addiction is all about. And each and every one of you guys can have a copy of this. Afterwards, you can ask me any questions you like. Welcome to Self-Love Breakthrough to a New You. I am Dr. Rhonda, the Self-Love Doctor. Today, I want to talk about an abuse
that is increasing every day. An abuse that is invisible and difficult to prove. There are no physical signs, yet the effects are lasting and harmful. It's hidden, it's dangerous, and it's hard to explain. It's called narcissistic abuse syndrome. Now, narcissistic abuse syndrome is an abuse that's been increasing each year at an alarming rate. It's time we educate our men and women about this abuse. World Narcissistic Abuse Day is June the 1st. It started June the 1st, 2016. This has become so bad that they decided to make it an awareness day. Now, while working at the prison 4 years ago, I used to take care of women in the prison, their healthcare needs. But what I noticed is when they would come to me, their mind would be way somewhere else. And after talking to so many of these women, I realized that they were there for relationships. 77%, which I thought was way more. We're talking about around the world. 77% of women in prison are survivors of domestic violence. Because a lot of women and men get involved in relationships with narcissists and don't even realize it. So it's so important to me that I wanted to educate. So I left the prison, opened my practice, and started Self-Love Breakthrough. I did one class at Dayton Correctional Center before I left, and I'll be back to do more. So what I want you to do is imagine a woman. This woman was broken, unconscious of it, didn't know she was broken, okay? Didn't have a clue. But she was educated, smart, and she was successful. She was bounded and connected to her partner wounds, but she didn't know that. See, your wounds and your partner wounds are connected. That's when you have brokenness attracting brokenness. Codependents and narcissists are drawn to each other like a magnet. She lived in an illusion of what she thought was love. You see, sometimes the illusion is so strong you don't want to awaken to the truth. You rather stay in the dysfunction because that is your comfort zone. She realizes through her pain, she birthed her purpose, and that her pain was connected to educating men and women around the world about this toxic epidemic that was spreading. She decided to give up her fear, her mask, and become courageous and fearless. She decided to own her power. That woman was me. You know, I had to be very vulnerable when I started to do this because, see, so many of us suffer in silence. We don't want anybody to know what we're going through because it's embarrassing. And people always say, how can somebody so smart? How could somebody that's beautiful? How could somebody that's rich end up with somebody like that? Well, see, this abuse has no social economic barrier or race. It's a core issue. It's a template issue. It has nothing to do with how smart you are, how rich you are, or how successful you are. The agenda, recognizing the love trap. I wrote a book called Recognizing the Love Trap so that I can educate billions and millions of people about this epidemic. It teaches you the red flags. It teaches you why you're attracted to each other. It helps you get out the relationship or not get in. We're going to talk about what is codependency. We're going to talk about narcissism and the 5 steps to overcome codependency. Codependency is someone that gives a great deal of love, respect, and care to others. It's a learned behavior. It's developed in childhood. It's our template. It's what we watch our parents do. So it's our norm. And this is what we grow up to do. A codependent has anxiety sometimes because they don't like being alone. The fear of being alone. That's why they go from partner to partner. If they break up with one, you'll see them with another one. That fear of separation is very hard. They have a denial. I did. You couldn't tell me I was codependent. I didn't even know what codependency meant. Codependent. I take care of myself. I buy my own things. I buy my own cars. But that's not what it meant. Once I realized, wee, in the relationship, the codependent assumes the position as a caregiver and not a partner. Always needing things to be perfect. Now, there's two types of codependent. There's an active and there's a passive. The active codependent is sometimes called a narcissist because they're controlling. You know, an active codependent will go out and seek that love. They'll follow you. They'll put a little thing on your car where they can know where you are. It'll beep, beep, beep. They'll come and bust your windows out. They dare you that you treat them that way. I have a couple people that are in prison because they went looking for that man and accidentally end up stabbing him, killing him, out of the passion and the pain and the hurt. That active codependent will take care of you, buy you clothes, as long as you just stay there. Just don't leave them. But they will come looking for you. A passive codependent, they won't come looking for you. They'll sit at home and just hope that you come back. You could be missing in action for a couple days, but as long as you come back, it's okay. You can have babies on them. They don't like it, but they'll accept it. That's passive. As I said before, most of these cases are learned in childhood, and it's your template that you were given as a child. We're going to talk about narcissism. Now, when I talk about narcissism, I'm talking about a pathological narcissist, one that comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Their intent is to hurt because they've been hurt. And in a lot of my classes with my clients, I teach them that both codependency and narcissism are children that are hurt when they were kids. That's why their wounds attract each other. One is a giver and one is a taker. So the overt narcissist, arrogant, boastful, demanding, grandiose, ruthless, powerful. They have charisma. They're the life of the party. Nice bodies. Very attractive. That's why all of a sudden you woof, right into that person. Okay? Covert. Shy, no less dangerous, anxious. This is commonly found in pastors, clergymen, doctors, lawyers. People trust them. This hurts so bad because you're putting your trust in these people. A pastor will tell you the word, they'll tell you this, but see, that narcissist knows the same thing. So when they hurt you, you're just like, I'm done with all churches. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. A lot of times you can tell anybody outside of your household about these individuals and they won't believe you because they get people to trust them. They get people to like them. They know what they're doing. What they all have in common is lying, cheating, manipulating, and gaslighting. No one would fall in love with a narcissist if they knew what was ahead of them. This is why they wear the mask. They wear these masks long enough to get you into the stage where they know they got you. And they know when they got you because it's a game. They know. Believe me, they know. When a codependent person and a narcissist get together, they are like two individuals with a powerful attraction. It's like a magnet, but it later becomes dysfunctional. This relationship causes you to lose yourself. It's a love addiction. Now, the codependent and the narcissist are attracted to the thing inside of them. That thing is that core. The codependent is usually tender. They're very honest. They have issues or they want to be attracted to the narcissist. They're nice and they're giving. The narcissist is a tormentor. They have hatred because of childhood issues. Issues, as I said, a lot of them. N is for nasty, and they can be grandiose. The grandiose comes from wanting to be that person that they're not. They don't have, their self-esteem is very low. So that's why they act all grandiose, because that's really what they want to be. Now, there's 3 stages. And the women in prison used to always say, how do you know those 3 stages? Because I would say, tell me, in the first stage, was it like the honeymoon stage? Did you feel like this was your soulmate? The chemistry was so heavy because that thing inside of you was attracted to that thing inside of him. And it happened so fast. The sex was intense. They put you on this pedestal. They fill you with hopes and dreams. And you feel like, this is my soulmate. You are now addicted. The dopamine and the oxytocin are being released in this stage, which causes traumatic bonding. And they'll say, how did you know that? Because it happens in every first stage. The second stage. This stage lasts long enough to make sure they have you secured. Then the mask comes off. They start to reveal their true colors. They end up missing in action. It could be days or weeks, even months. And you're saying, what did I do? What did I do wrong? You're left baffled and confused because you don't understand what happened. Now you're experiencing withdrawal. They start to blame you. They start to criticize you. And all you're trying to do is make it right. Maybe I need to lose weight. Maybe I need to cut my hair. Maybe I need to color it. You're doing anything you can to make this narcissist go back to the first stage. Now, they go back between 1 and 2. They go back between 1, 2, and 3. But it's a roller coaster. It's like being on a hamster in a wheel going around and around and around. And you hit first stage and you go around and around. You hit second stage and sometimes you just stay stagnated. Stage 3 is the discard stage. Now, all of them don't discard you. They'll try to bug you. They'll try to get you back. Now, the thing about it is it depends on how much narcissistic supply you have. If you're nice looking, if you got a good career, if you got money, they'll carry you on their arm because you make them look like the prize. But they'll never be happy with you because of that core. They'll always have a chick on the side. They are like little boys with toys. It's baffling to watch this. You start to ask yourself, did I ever mean anything to him? The answer is no. No one means anything to them. They are empty souls. They have holes in their souls. Women are only a means to an end to obtain that much needed narcissistic supply. Now, I want you to know also, men go through the same thing. I have men clients, so I'm not just saying this happens to women because it happens to both, but I see more women than men. Codependency, anorexia. If you don't be along in the third stage, if you don't stop dating, if you don't go within and heal, you will have codependency, anorexia. Why? Because with codependency, anorexia, you usually say, I'm done. I'm not dating. I'm done. I'm tired of being cheated on. I'm tired of being hurted. So you don't date. You may not date for years. But if you don't truly heal that wounded child and become whole, then you will attract another narcissist down the road. That thing will awaken. It will open up. Now, Tyler Perry's movie, Falling for Grace, perfect example. Watch that. Perfect example. She was doing fine, but she wasn't healed. If she was, she would have smelt that narcissist. What I do is I teach you to smell them. Because once you heal, you will learn to smell them. So codependency withdrawal. This is when you're alone. You think, oh, I love him. Why did he do this to me? Oh, my God, what am I going to do? No, you didn't love yourself. Because if you loved yourself, you would not accept that behavior and you would not be attracted to that person. It's so important that you be by yourself and you heal. Because if not, this will go on over and over and over. I treat opiate addiction along with codependency. My clients tell me that codependency withdrawal is worse than any opiate addiction. See, I can write Suboxone to help them with that withdrawal, but I can't give them another Bob, Harry, or Sam. So not having that man, because that man is their addiction, is horrible. They'll just go back to that person over and over than to deal with the pain. So you have to go through the pain. You have to go through to get to. You have to remember, with pain is purpose. So this stage here is very hard. Some people never get to the stage. Some people just stay there and live a miserable life. And when you do, you die in physically, or you're going to die internally, because this is where you get the toxins. You can't be happy with somebody treating you like this. You start to get cancer. You start to get gastritis. You start to get all kind of things that go on in your body. Now, there's 5 steps to breakthrough. Now, I have more steps, but I put these steps in here just to make this a shorter version. Step 1, saying goodbye. Oh my God, letting go is the hardest thing to do. That's when you're going through that withdrawal thing, okay? You're letting go of an illusion that felt so true. The longer you stay in a toxic relationship, the longer you stay in this relationship, the harder it will be. You have to let go. No contact. This is the only way to detach from the dark reality of the narcissist. No Facebook, no emailing, no texting. No texting. There's 7 things I want to tell you about this that's very important. Number 1, no contact. Number 2, no contact. Number 3, no contact. Number 4, no contact. Number 5, no contact. Number 6, no contact. Number 7, no contact. None. That's the only way to get through. Number 3, this is the grieving stage. You have to remember, somebody has died. That false illusion was real to you. Okay? This is the stage that's very hard due to the trauma bond that formed. This is a bond that formed so tight that you thought, oh my God, I love this person. You grieve the false illusion. Often the grief and despair of detaching from a toxic relationship are so overwhelming that we cling to this harmful situation to avoid having to cut the person loose. This is also very hard, but believe me, it's a process and it can be done. Allow yourself to feel the pain. So many people don't want to feel pain. That's how we numb ourselves. That's why we have the opiate addiction, because it got so painful they wanted something to numb themselves with. Or the alcoholics, they want to drink themselves to death. But you have to feel the pain in order to heal. You have to. You have to go through. You have to feel the sorrow of their absence to move through it. I wish there was a better way. But remember, with pain comes purpose. Take back your power. How? Educate yourself. Educate yourself on this World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day, because it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Every time you turn around, they're talking about narcissists. You have to cut the psychic cord, because there is a cord that's a psychic cord that you can't see. You got to cut it. It's invisible. You can't see it, but you can feel it. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Meditating and inner bonding was a very big one for me. It helped me with healing. Healing is about moving out the false belief systems and living into the true one. You have to. There's no other way around it. Counseling is important also. What I want people to understand is, with counseling, you have to go to someone that understands narcissistic abuse. Because a lot of people, when you go in, they're either a narcissist or they're codependent. So you really have to know. Ask questions. Ask them what they know about this. Okay? And the very, very important thing is you have to meditate on the Word of God, because God will renew your mind and your spirit. I promise you He will. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's so important. So important that you give God your mind, You give him your trouble, and believe me, you have to be ready, because this is not a joke. You have to be courageous to go through this in order to let go. From pain to purpose, my self-love program is a holistic program. It addresses the body, the mind, and the spirit. And it helps break the cycles of abandonment, addiction, and unresolved trauma that is often handed down from generation to generation. These are 3 of the books that I've written. The Love Trap is the last one, for now, but it teaches you how to go within and heal. I also have a website, selflovedoctor.com, that you can go on and get information. There's a 30-day self-love tracker that you can put your name, put your email up there, and we'll send it to you. But most of all, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be doing more education on narcissistic abuse because it's so important, and I want people to understand that they can get through this. You just have to be real to heal. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any questions? Mm-hmm.
Let's say after treatment, let's say Mary Jane's clean, and and her family's happy and everyone's happy. How many reoccurrences happen? Okay, let's say she's clean. How many times do you say that this is a lifetime that this person's going to have to deal with this, or?
So what I've seen, and this is recently with the Suboxone and all that, I have friends who years ago was on drugs, got into the church, got into the word, never used anything, and has never used a drug again. But a lot of times, if people get stressed, if they lose a loved one or if something happens, they go back to that thing that helped them get through because they get numb from the pain. So I have a lot of clients that relapse. And when I do the video on changing, they relapse a whole lot of times. And then I've seen them come back and be clean for the last 5-6 years. Everybody's different. But so many people have anxiety and depression and so many other things going along with this that even though they're starting to do good, as soon as something happens. That's why I like the fact that at the Dream Center is going to be people of God there, because they need people to pray with. I truly believe that once they know God and know the word and truly get it in their heart, that's a big game changer right there. And a lot of my clients don't. So they do, some of them do go back and forth. Mm-hmm.
Currently, as far as I know, between 48 and 72 hours before they get released from prison, the state has given a lot of the girls Vivitrol. And we had one not long ago that got out 2 weeks later. She shot herself up with heroin that had fentanyl in it, and she died.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly it wasn't effective. Do you use that? And if so, do you
Mm-hmm.
see it? What's your opinion on that?
I do use Vivitrol, and I like Vivitrol. And I like Vivitrol because it's not addicting. Vivitrol is an injection that we give every 28 days, and it's $1,000 a month. The clients, I do it, they take it for alcohol and also any kind of narcotic. If a person's really serious about it, they don't want Suboxone because Suboxone can be addicting. Once you come off of Suboxone, it's just like any other narcotic. You're going to get sick. So a lot of times, when they first start doing it, they were supposed to do Suboxone for 6 months to a year. That didn't work because really what they did is change Suboxone. Instead of giving them the heroin, we're giving them Suboxone. Suboxone makes them go to work, makes them live their life, but they're still addicted to it. So if they come off of it, they're going to get sick. That's why I like Vivitrol, because Vivitrol is not a narcotic. In the prison when I was there, they were giving people Vivitrol. Yeah, but the thing about it is, like, once they got that shot, where are they going to get the next shot at? So they really needed a resource to go somewhere else to continue that. Because once your body's been clean like that and you shoot up, you are going to die. So that's one of the things I'm in the prison now doing we're doing a curriculum called Restorative Voices, and one of the things I'm trying to do is get them to make sure that when they come out, they have a resource if they want that Vivitrol, that they can get it again.
So good to know, because so many of them would be helpless And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but then they're gonna release you on the corner of Gettysburg and Germantown with $200, and you're gonna see the first dope boy and get high.
That's right. And once you walk out that door, that's when the triggers start. That's why they need a home that we're working on now that they go into as soon as they get out. Come into that home where we can teach you about triggers, where we can teach you about God, where we can teach you about life. So then you may be ready to hit the streets. But when you come out of prison, you're not ready. I didn't see that at all because they don't teach them all those things. They just say, here's your shot. See you later. And they have nowhere to go. So what are they going to do? They're going to go back to the old behaviors.
And there's not enough, like, halfway houses. They have it for men, but for women, they're like obsolete.
Right. You're absolutely right. Yes. The Dream Center is going to be huge, and it's going to be great. It is. I wish the Dream Center was around when my brother was out there drinking and all that. I mean, it would have been wonderful. So I'm really happy to see it coming.
So we're waiting for the iron to get hot, and then we're gonna strike. It will happen, and y'all just pray about it, because he hasn't failed us yet.
And also, we are too, the Restorative Voices, our curriculum at the prison, we're working on a second chance home. And we're hoping that it'll grow bigger and bigger, but we're kind of start with like maybe 10 to 12 girls. And hopefully we can get them to mandate them to come there instead of going to another halfway house. But going in there now with them, you know, once we've had like 5 girls come out, they want to. They're like, hey, we want to be with you guys because we're showing that compassion. We're showing that love. We're showing that we care. So they want somewhere to go. A lot of them don't have anywhere to go, you know. So that is important.
Old people place in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
If they always got high with their mom in their house, and they go back to that house, what's gonna happen?
Absolutely.
Only ever got high with their friends, and they go back to those same friends. And the other thing is, because we are so connected with that happens. So it's a big talk everywhere.
Yes, it is. Any other questions?
As each year has passed, has there been an increase or decrease, or that really is
Well, the opiate addiction was getting really, really, really bad. The opiate addiction was getting really, really bad in Ohio. That's why they had so many doctors trying to come on telemed because they were like, hey, you don't have to see them, just go on telemed to get them. Recently, I heard that it's going down some, but then with the crisis we just had, I can't even think what was it we just went through? I don't even want to know. But with that, it got worse because they couldn't come in to see us. They made us stay home. They were doing it and they were afraid. They were like, we might as well just go and get high. So it started getting worse again. Then the stimulus checks, you can forget it. I don't know how they were getting these stimulus checks, but they were. And you wouldn't see them. I don't think it was going down. Not at all. So that made it just go up worse. Right. And it's so many of them on benzos because doctors were just writing benzos for years and years and years, and then the DA says, no, don't write them. So a lot of clients that are on Suboxone are on, was on Valiums too, was on a benzo. So you'll see that in their urine, they'll sneak and use that, but they truly, as you're saying, they really need that. They're like this when they come off of this stuff. And it makes them uncomfortable. So now the government is saying, okay, we can write a little something with that to get the edge off. But my thing has always been, you know, I don't mind writing the Suboxone, but I write it to bridge them over into the Word of God. Because once they truly get the Word of God in their heart, they won't need anything, like Scott says. But if you don't give them that at first, they're not coming because they don't understand, you know, I'm sick and I can't be sick. So once you give them that and they can get through their life and we're teaching them about God and we're teaching them the Word and it gets in their heart and it gets in the renewing of their mind, they'll let it go. I truly believe that. And I know this is what the Dream Center is all about. I'm sorry, was your question, are you going to be doing training for the loved ones, their family members that the loved ones are, okay. I would think so.
Yes, and so a lot of these programs, like there's Bureau of Health, there's Freedom Recovery, there's we wrap our arms around them as a whole family.
And it's really good that you guys are going to have the daycare, because a lot of my clients come in with their kids, don't have where to take them. And so the kids are sitting right there, listening to them crying about, and these kids here, crying about, I can't get off of this, and my boyfriend didn't come home, and sit down, and they're irritated, and they're hollering at the kids. So I think that's very important that you guys are going, the daycare center is going to be there. And it's very important to teach the parents, because these parents are just depressed. They're just as depressed as their kid out there. They don't know if their kid is coming home. They don't know if their kid is dead. I mean, it's really sad. So as you said, Leah, the whole family, it's very, very important. It really is. They do. And the clients, if you could just see them sometimes, they'll come in and they're crying. If they trust you and they know your heart and they feel your compassion, they'll tell you. They'll tell you their story. They're crying because they don't want this. They just don't know how to get off of it. And you could say, get on your knees and pray. You need a church. You need people that's going to love you. You need people that's going to hold your hand and hug you and walk you through this, because you can't do it by yourself. Mm-hmm.
What I'm running into here recently is my clients not thinking marijuana is a drug. I ran into heroin, some of my clients heroin, I refer out. But what I'm running into now is trying to get my clients to see that marijuana is a drug. They're looking at it because I'm not on heroin,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on no heavy stuff, that I don't have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
To me, having a problem is when you can't manage your rent, you can't manage your
Mm-hmm.
bills, housing, and things like that. I'm running into the marijuana, it not being a big deal, to them.
Yeah.
And I'm not knowing what to do.
And
I'm referring out, but
Mhm.
I can refer out to counseling therapy, but if they don't realize that the marijuana is the problem, at what point, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't wanna turn anybody away.
Right.
I'm from the agency, but I can't put you in a hotel.
Are they on probation or anything like that when they come to you? No? Okay.
Some are using it because the abuser is selling it and telling them they have to.
And the biggest thing with that is they're making it legal. You can get a marijuana card, which I don't believe in. I mean, a lot of my clients are on marijuana cards because of the anxiety. So they're using that, and that's why they think it's no big deal, because they're saying, okay, just go to your doctor. They have a place downtown you can go and get a card, and you're okay with it. But I feel like it's still another addiction. When my clients use it, I make sure I tell them, if this is in your urine, if they have a card, the state says I have to be okay with it, because this is a new law, which to me is sad because it's another addiction. You can go ahead, Scott. I have the medication I write a lot is Trintellix. It's a new one, and it helps with cognitive behavior, because some of them can't even think straight. Benzos, what they do is just they sedate you. So if you're taking benzos and you're taking a narcotic, a lot of people die because it knocks out your hypoxic drive. By the time you lay down, you're already high on the narcotic. Then you got a benzo. It's going to slow your heart rate and everything else down. You can die. You can OD. A lot of people have OD like that. That's why they wouldn't let us write them. But then they're so wired up that they'll let you write a little bit, but you have to go to somewhere who says, a doctor that says you need this. You need both of them. And that's the only way I'll accept it, if a doctor says that. because if something happens and they OD, you could be sued. And people, a lot of them are having anxiety because of fear. You know, that anxiety is false. It's not even they're afraid of something. You ask them what, and they don't know. They're just afraid. So that's why when you get to know the Lord and the Lord comes into your heart, He tell you be fearful of nothing. And I think that's when people start, their mindset starts changing, where they don't need nothing but Jesus. Mm-hmm.
This might be a two-part thing between Leah and you, of like maybe how you deal with it and then how you think we should deal with it. But like, only thing I have involved in is the girls in the prison, but once they know your heart and they realize like this person really does love me and care about me, they'll begin to tell you things that you wish that you never knew. Like, I sex traffic my kids so I can get high. I let the dope boys have sex with my 12-year-old, and they'll just tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
So like when we, and I'm gonna say when, it's gonna happen, somebody's gonna feel loved by us and be like, I'm hooked on heroin and I've been letting my dope boy have sex with my 14-year-old. Like at what point does it go from we love you, we care about you, but we also need to contact the authorities? And then how do you say, like for volunteers and people that are working down there, at what line do we love you, but also you need to pay for what you're doing? Like how do you know what I'm saying? Like how do you bridge that gap?
So you mean like the people that are out of prison that happened to and they already served their time, or?
No, I'm talking about people that walk in off the street.
Okay.
And they feel comfortable enough to tell you, like, this is what I'm doing, because they will do that. I mean, I know the girls in prison do.
Yeah, I know. And when I was in prison, when I worked at the prison, I always tell people when I was in prison, when I worked at the prison, I had girls come to me all the time that were in there though serving that time, who didn't really want to talk about it, but then would talk about it. Sometimes they would come there just to have appointments and say they were sick, just to talk, because I would pray with them. Things that you're not supposed to do, but my heart, I had to do that. I even had when I was walking through one day, one of the ladies said, "I love you, Dr. Bass," and they all looking at me like, "What's going on?" But it was just because of the relationship we had through God. But I would say if somebody came in, and I don't know how you want to answer that, Leah, but if somebody came in there and they were saying, "I'm getting high and I'm trafficking my daughter or my son," I think you need to let them know that we love you and we're going to love you with the life of God, but we still have to be accountable for this. We got to get this child some help. And I would.
It may not be something like that crazy,
But yeah.
You can read through the lines and know that, okay, these kids are severely neglected. There's clearly not a clean place. They have food. Like, at what point do we intervene and say, for the welfare of these children, we have to step up and be that?
I think once you're told that, if somebody says that to you, you'd have to let them know, look, we love you and we're going to help you, but we have to get the authorities involved because this is a child or anybody that's doing something wrong. You have.
Looked at me as if I were the stupidest bag of rocks in that room. Because at first it's like, oh, sure, it's going to be a real reunion. Oh, But I didn't know any better about it.
I felt like when I worked at the prison and I treated HIV and I treated hepatitis C and I treated diabetes, that addiction is a chronic disorder just like that. So what they do is they throw them in there. They come in handcuffed. They never treat them. So guess what they're doing? They're buying the drugs in the prison. That's why it needs to be a program there also. People are bringing it into them because they're still addicted to it. All they do is went through the withdrawal. They throw them in the cell. They don't give them any of the withdrawal medications. And so when they come out, the whole time they're there, they're getting high. When they come out, they're getting high. So I just truly believe that they need to give Vivitrol once they get in there. If nothing else, Vivitrol. But it's like fighting for that to ever happen. I heard in some other places, not in Ohio, but they are treating addiction as a chronic disorder now. So it's really sad. It's chronic. And it goes on and on and on. They OD in prison too. Now, if they're really, really high, they're not going to hear you. I've had clients come in that was so high that I couldn't treat them. I was like, just, maybe you should go into a rehab, or maybe you come back because you can't treat a client thing. They can't even consent to anything. They're too high. Well, from my understanding, you guys are going to be feeding them, loving them. Hopefully, they can get to the point where they'll come back, because you really can't make them stay or get them any help if they don't want it.
Yeah, we can't force them on. And the other thing is, remember that they know what to do, but don't let it overtake you in grief. Because God is going to do this, and we're going to do it one at a time.
Amen. 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 Any other questions?
I believe in instant transformation. I simply believe in it.
So do I.
A person can be instantly healed.
Absolutely. There's going to be so much healing, so much joy. I feel it. I have chills. And people are waiting on this. So many people out there are waiting on this. They want help. They really do. There's just nowhere to go. Not like it's going to be here. This is something that's big, huge, and different. If there's no more questions, thank you so much for having me.